everyone. My name is Esther Cohen, and I'm the Director of High Care for the Jewish Federation of Broward County in association with the Jewish Community Foundation. It really gives me great pleasure to speak with you today and introduce you to one of our high care clients, Barbara Rubin. Barbara Rubin and her husband, David Rubin, are receiving high care services.
Well, it really started by joining Federation, and we live in Broward County, and there really weren't that many Jews in Broward County. And we just felt also to just be part of the Jewish community. We also feel that being philanthropic is really, really important in our lives. And the high care just came as icing on the cake, actually. Well, basically, I should really just backtrack a little bit. We had no idea about high care when we first became legacy members. And so it really is a terrific thing. My husband had a big problem, as you well know, and the high care really came to the rescue of having somebody else to speak to, another shoulder to lean on. Our children are distant, and so that you are right there and immediate. And going to the doctor's appointments with my husband is really an excellent thing, because even though I am 100% involved with my husband's care, just having somebody else there is really a wonderful thing. And in the case, you know, I may not have all my records with me. The doctor's asking questions that I didn't anticipate. Just having the high care, like you, Esther, having all of the records, doctors and a lot of things, were able to participate in my husband's care. And in addition to that, my husband had AIDS for a while, and it was, some of those AIDS were not really up to snuff. And the high care representative really helped. So I was able to dismiss some of the AIDS based on another input. So it's been all 100% positive, really good. And it's really amazing. I mean, it's something I never anticipated. Never, of course, anticipated needing help. Always my husband and I were completely independent people. So it's been just great. Well, just go for it altogether. It's really important. You're helping the community and, surprise, helping yourself if you ever need it. It was a shock to me that we would need it, independent people. So it's been an amazing journey, and I can't understand why not enough people are participating. It's really important.
Good morning. I'm Esther Cohen, the Director of the High Care Program at Federation. Along with our High Care Chair, Carol Lasik, we would like to welcome you all to the second of the 3 educational webinar series. Today's webinar, titled Financial Frauds and Healthcare Hoaxes: How to Avoid Becoming a Victim, will provide resources and skills to keep yourself and your assets safe. You just viewed a wonderful and meaningful testimonial from one of our high care clients, Barbara Rubin. She and her husband, David, are currently receiving high care services. The high care program is available to all Legacy Society donors 65 years of age and older. Thank you, Barbara Rubin, for providing this heartfelt testimonial of how valuable the high care program has been for you and your husband. Now, when you create a Jewish legacy of $100,000 or more to the Jewish Federation, you have the opportunity to utilize our high care program. High care offers you an individualized care management plan, becoming your advocate when you are confronted with the challenges of aging and healthcare related issues. High Care's professional team helps to educate and provide you with the tools necessary to navigate the healthcare system. We become your extended family, ensuring that your life is filled with dignity and getting quality of care. Now, HighCare offers a peace of mind to you and your family. Now, in this age of COVID, sophisticated criminals are targeting individuals, just like you and me, with financial and medical frauds each and every day. Today's speakers, Senior Counsel for Greenspoon Marder's White Collar and Criminal Defense Attorney, Adriana Collado-Hudak, and Mitchell Tapper, Director of Security at the Jewish Federation of Broward County, will share tips on identifying these schemes and protecting yourself and your assets. We are proud that Greenspoon Marder is a corporate partner of our federation. Now, immediately following the presentations, there will be a Q&A. Please enter your questions in the Q&A function located on the Zoom on the bottom of the screen. It gives me great pleasure today to introduce you to our speakers. Adriana Collado-Hudak, Senior Counsel for Greenspoon Marder, is recognized as a top 100 trial lawyer in Florida by the National Trial Lawyers Association and is rated Martindale-Hubbell AV-Preeminent. Ms. Collado-Hudak is author of the 10th and the 11th editions of the Florida Criminal Cases Notebook Supplement, a reference publication on emerging case law. Her article on the evolution of qualified immunity was recently published in Law 360. This fall, she was featured on the ABC News series, The Con, where she discussed one of the most audacious fraud schemes in recent memory. Mitchell Tapper is a retired special agent and has served as the Director of Security at the Jewish Federation of Broward County since 2016. Mr. Tapper, with over 30 years of diversified law enforcement experience, is truly making a difference to help deter and stop threats to our community. And now I welcome to the screen Mitchell Tapper.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Esther, for the warm welcome. I have a short time to give you a lot of information. Oh, a little out of focus there. So let me start my PowerPoint presentation. That's my name, my email directly, and the email to the security@jewishbroward.org, which is a general email and general phone number for you to report any incidents that involve the Jewish community in Broward County. Let me start by methods of contact to commit fraud. So I am going to give you a presentation on what you guys should be looking for, how general fraud is committed. I'm not going to get into many specifics on this. So let's start. Telephone. You can be contacted either via a robocall. You might get a live caller. For the seniors, the grandparent scam. Somebody might call telling you that your grandchild has been kidnapped or that your grandchild's in trouble, asking you for money. And believe it or not, people do fall victim to this. Email, computer, internet, unexpected solicitations, phishing emails versus spear phishing emails. The difference between phishing and spear phishing is general. Spear phishing is targeting a specific group or a specific individual. So instead of a general fraud attempt, it might have your name. Dear Mrs. Jones, we have reached out for you. That would be spear phishing. Threatening emails or emails that have active links are not phishing, but those are attempts to download malicious software or malware into your computers. In-person contact. People actually knock on doors posing as UPS, FedEx, a utility company, a charity, or even your neighbor or someone who might be lost. And this can be an attempt to gain money from you or gain access to your home. Regular mail, sweepstakes, charities, unknown entities, people preying on emotion, and people who are saying, listen, I'm down on my luck. I've contacted you because you have some expertise or something, or I found your name, and people fall victim to this stuff. Here is a typical email. that everybody, I am sure, has gotten. It comes from, in this case, Michael Balaban, who's the chairman of the CEO of the Jewish Federation of Broward County. Look, it says, regards, Michael Balaban. However, look at the email. It says it's not a city council. It's a completely made up Gmail account. I can create 100 Gmail accounts in a matter of minutes, and then I can take them away the next day. So that's what a lot of these fraudsters do. Here is an email that is telling you that your password has expired. Okay, and it says on behalf, look at the top here where it says johnscott.com, on behalf of no reply at jewishbroward.org. Well, we don't have an email like that. So therefore, they've created this, probably using Gmail, because you can actually create emails that don't look like Gmail in Gmail. And somebody might say, oh, I better renew my password. You're actually giving them your password. Here is an email regarding the Jewish community of Broward County. This one was directed at me. This says, I was browsing LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn, and your experience at the United Jewish Community of Broward County caught my attention. Maybe so. However, he wants to sell me senior care franchise, not in medical home agency care. My experience on LinkedIn has to do with security and law enforcement. So why is he trying to sell me? In other words, he probably never saw me on LinkedIn. This is the way fraudsters gain your attention. They prey on your ability to say, maybe this is true. Here is one that contains a malicious link. Okay, so they'll tell you that Florida Professional Law Group, which actually does exist and actually is a sponsor of the Jewish Federation of Broward County. These people do their homework. I'll do you one better. Sarah Watson, who I spoke to on the phone after this, she was hacked. Sarah Watson is an employee of the Florida Professional Law Group. As soon as you click on that link, because you can't really see the documents, you stand the potential to download malicious software into your computer. You may not even know you downloaded it, but now if they've put this type of keylogger or something like that in your computer, every time you go to your bank, every time you go to a secured site and type in your username and password, they have it too. Here is this. These are some of my favorites. This is snail mail. It comes in the mail. This looks official. Final notice, open immediately. And it even has the 2020 on it, which is very similar to what some government agencies, especially the IRS, might use. Okay. This was what was in it. Obviously, I took out the name that was on it. Attention, Medicare recipients. Well, Medicare, that's pretty much anyone over, 65 or 66? This notice is to ensure all individuals. Okay, this looks like an official piece of mail. It's not. Okay, this is the envelope that you would have put this back in. Look at the address. So what is at 3225 North Hiatus Road in Sunrise, Florida? It's the United States Postal Service. It's a box. You just sent something that you thought was official to a P.O. box. And in some cases, they use private mailboxes, not U.S. Postal Service. If this was a real business, I'm not saying that real businesses don't use collection points to get mail, but you really need to take a look. And mind you, anybody could look up that address. Okay, so who typically gets scammed? Being eager for bargains, people who are looking for bargains, susceptibility to persuasion, lacking a defensive strategy, willingness to take risks, facing a rough patch. And this is one of my favorites because in my years of law enforcement, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. It must be true. I saw it on the internet. Okay, avoid being a victim. All right, be vigilant about protecting your credit. Read your emails. Okay, check the address it came from. And in a COVID-19 environment, they are selling fake cures. They are telling you that you can get ahead of the line. Do not give any money. Do not fall victim to this. Okay, if it seems too good to be true, I promise you it is. And now I'm going to turn this over to Adriana Collado-Hudak, who I have had numerous conversations with prior to this, and I have a lot of respect for her knowledge and her experience. Adriana?
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Mitch, for that intro. And let me go ahead now and show, let me add my screen so everyone can see. And all right, good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you for joining me as we talk about financial frauds and healthcare hoaxes and how you can avoid becoming a victim. And I don't know what else I could add to Esther's great intro, but just to recap a little bit, I am Adriana Collado-Hudak. I am Senior Counsel for Greenspoon Marder's white collar and criminal defense practice. I've been practicing criminal defense for over 15 years, which has given me some good insight as to how con artists and scammers work. And today I want to share some of my insights with you, and I hope you'll find these helpful and that these will help you avoid becoming a victim for these criminals. So let's get right into it. What is it that scammers want? Typically, scammers or grifters have two goals. They want two things from you: money or personal information. And scammers love to target retirees. Why is that? Well, unfortunately, scammers see retirees as perfect marks because retirees tend to have substantial amounts of money saved. They are easier to reach via phone. Unfortunately, many people over 65, senior citizens, still answer phones. Some of them have decreased cognitive faculties that allows scammers to take advantage of them more easily. And a lot of seniors are not as familiar with technology as younger generations, which makes it easier to, I guess, manipulate them to do or click on something that they shouldn't click on. So they're going to try to target you for all these reasons. And they have several common techniques that they use to reel in victims. Of course, there are a wide variety of things that can be done to try to trick someone, but some techniques are more common than others. I call these huckster how-tos. And as Mitch pointed out earlier, 9 out of 10 scammers, if not 10 out of 10, are going to reach out to you. They're going to ask you to the dance, so to speak. They're going to reach out to you via phone call, an email, a text message, and the end game is to get you to engage, to get you to talk to them, to respond to a question, to sign, to click. And I always tell people that even answers to seemingly innocent questions can make you vulnerable. Why? Because once a scammer has got you talking, they've got their foot in the door. And that's when the trouble really begins. So 2 common tricks scammers use to get victims to engage, because you kind of have to get the person talking and get them to like you in order for the conversation to start flowing. One of the things that they like to do is create an illusion of exclusivity. And typically that sounds something like this: we are offering this product solely to the members of the Jewish Federation because we have such a good relationship with your organization. This is only being offered to people who have more than $1 million of net worth. This investment is only for accredited investors. So by making you feel that you have some kind of exclusive or you're part of a certain hierarchy, that is one way that scammers have to get you to kind of lower your defenses and let them on in. The other thing that they're notorious for is use of high pressure tactics. Now, high pressure sales are the hallmark of a scam. So you always want to beware of pitches that demand that you act now, or this offer is only good for a limited time. If you are being pushed to make a decision immediately, to provide money, information, etc., for a promised reward down the road, your red flags should be waving all over the place, because that is, again, one of the surest signs that you're dealing with someone who is not on the up and up. Now, something else that is not quite on the slide that, of course, dawned on me this morning is, who is a scammer? Scammers typically, especially the really, really good ones, they look just like you and me. They are charming, they are funny, They are very personable. They seem to have the gift of gab, and they can talk to you for, hours, minutes on end to get you again to lower those defenses, to like them, and to buy whatever it is that they're selling. I once represented a man who worked for an investment company, and the investment company was involved in fraud, and he was a very great salesman. His clients loved him. They thought that he was their friend. They thought that he had their best interests at heart when he was recommending all sorts of wacky investments. And unfortunately, it was all because my client was a very gifted actor, for lack of a better word. So although scammers are going to try to victimize you with all types of different cons, there are certain scams, certain topics that are especially targeted to seniors more than others. I call these senior shakedowns. Now, senior shakedowns are cons that tend to focus on healthcare services, investments, and reverse mortgages. And the reason that I call these senior shakedowns is because, typically speaking, the person who is going to fall, or the person who is targeted for these scams, tends to be a retiree, someone over 65. So let's take a look at each category, starting with our healthcare hoaxes. Say that fast 5 times. So no surprise here, folks. The latest trend in healthcare hoaxes has to do with COVID-19 vaccines. And Mitch touched upon this a little bit earlier. Scammers are calling, texting, emailing, and they are posing as doctors' offices, government health services offices, and they are trying to offer you early or faster access to the vaccine, an opportunity to jump the line, so to speak, or even a newfangled generic version of the COVID-19 vaccine. And of course, all you have to do to reserve your place in line or get the vaccine is to pay a fee in advance. Now, folks, if you haven't already become aware of this, COVID-19 vaccines are free. You are not paying for these out of pocket. There is no payment that is going to enable you to jump the line, receive the vaccine sooner, get ahead. That is not happening. And if you ever see any kind of email, text, or phone call that is trying to tell you this, the first thing you should absolutely ignore it, hang up, or whatnot, because you already know that this is a scam. Now, as to generic versions, there are no generic versions of the vaccine. The only approved providers are Moderna and Pfizer. There is nothing else in the pipeline that has yet been authorized by the FDA to be given to patients. So please do not fall for the idea that there is a great generic vaccine available solely to you that you can take advantage of now. Now, something else that you want to watch out for, and I hate to say this because I think it's typically the ladies out there who tend to fall for these. I know how you feel. Prescriptions and online cosmeceuticals, online pharmacies, prescriptions for cheap Botox and fillers, and many of these cheap products are either diluted versions or outright fakes that are made with dangerous chemicals. So if you ever see ads, especially on social media websites, saying that there's a certain person who's offering Botox done for a really discounted price, do not, for the life of you, click on that link. You do not want your Botox or fillers applied by someone whose ads pop up on Facebook. You only want to do these things with a licensed medical professional. And you'll be really happy that you took those words to heart. Now, something else to watch out for: counterfeit prescription drugs and online pharmacies. Beware of emails advertising cheap prescription drugs online from Canada or Europe or who knows where else. Now, I'll backtrack a bit. There are legitimate online pharmacies, absolutely. And the way that you can verify whether an online pharmacy is legitimate is you can call your healthcare or Medicare provider to verify that this is indeed on the up and up. Otherwise, if you click on that link, you may be risking something much more important than your bank account, your health, and possibly your life. A lot of these medications, even if they do actually, even if you click on a link and even if a pharmacy does send you a medication, a lot of those medications may be fakes. They might be knockoffs of the real prescription, or they might be versions of a drug that come from elsewhere that do not have the same rigorous health standards that the US does. So you want to be extra careful about ordering anything from an online pharmacy. Now, a quick tip to tell you that, so that you can use rather, to tell whether your online pharmacy is legitimate. Look for the VIPS logo, and VIPS stands for Verified Internet Pharmacy Practice Site. Now, the VIPS logo is not 100% foolproof. Remember, a good scammer, a good con artist, logos can be copied, logos can be pasted, but at least if you see the VIPS logo on an online pharmacy, at least it's a good start. It's a good sign that you are in fact dealing with a legitimate online provider. And again, if you have any questions or any doubts, circle back with your healthcare provider or your Medicare provider for confirmation. And before we leave healthcare hoaxes, I'm going to give you one more pro tip. If you happen by any chance to click on a link, let's say you receive an email that claims that it's from a government agency or website like Human Health and Human Services or the Food and Drug Administration. Let's say you click on the link. When you click on that link, look for the suffix, the little 3 letters at the end behind the dot. Those letters, if it is a legitimate government website, are going to be .gov. Federal sites don't end with .com or .net. So one way to know that you're actually clicking on a legitimate, real government website, again, look at the suffix .gov. That's a good place. That's a good way to confirm that you are, in fact, dealing with somebody who's on the up and up. You also want to look at the prefix, the little introduction, the few letters that come before at the beginning of an internet address. If you're ever buying something online, look for the prefix HTTPS // If you see that, you know that that website has security protocols in place to protect against cyber attacks and to protect your financial information, like your credit card information, when you input it to make a purchase. So that's a really good way to know that you are in fact dealing with a real and legitimate website. So let's move on next to our investment imposters, your financial frauds. Financial fraudsters, they are particularly notorious for giving you that illusion of exclusivity that I talked about a bit earlier, and for using those high pressure tactics to make you buy now, buy now, buy now. Many of them will attempt to reach you by phone. So let me tell you a little bit about where these calls are coming from and who is making them. These calls are typically coming from what is called a boiler room. And if you have seen Martin Scorsese's immensely entertaining movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, you probably already know what a boiler room looks like. That's where the lead character, Leonardo DiCaprio, he was the head of a financial firm, and you had all these salespeople in the office who were pushing investments on unsuspecting clients. And typically, this information that they get comes from another source. They will get your contact information from free financial or investment seminars that people sign up for and attend. So what will happen typically is this. You will see some kind of ad or notice about a financial seminar that you might be interested in, and you think to yourself, hey, I want to learn more about this. I want to educate myself. I'm going to attend this seminar. Usually the seminars are for free. So in order to register, you of course have to give them your name, your contact information, usually your email address. You might also have to tell them how old you are or what is the range of your salary. You fill in the information, attend the free seminar, and as soon as you've already given them the information, the company that is holding the seminar will immediately then flip and turn it over to a myriad of marketing companies, financial companies, some legitimate, some not. And that is how they get your phone number. That's how they get your information. And that is how they worm their way into your life. Now, something else about boiler rooms. Boiler room sales reps are paid on commission. They are paid to push investments. They are paid to push products. Doesn't matter whether or not that product is actually good for the client. They are just paid to sell. Many of them are extremely good salespeople, like my client who I mentioned earlier, and they can be very persistent and very manipulative. So you need to make sure that you can cut them off quickly in order to avoid the spiel that's going to come that may reel you in inadvertently. So the investments, what type of investments are these people pushing? Well, I've seen offers to invest in gold mines, ore mines, reserves, penny stocks. And if you ever have someone who is reaching out to you and you are a retiree over 65 and telling you that this is an investment for you, run, don't walk away from that person. These are extremely volatile investments, very risky, some legitimate, some not, and it's very difficult to tell which ones are and which ones aren't. These are way too risky for retirement funds, for golden year investments. And if anyone is pushing that on you, it is a major red flag that that person does not have your financial interests at heart. So think twice before attending that free discussion on flipping homes for a living, because your information might wind up in the hands of a boiler room. And speaking of homes, let's talk a little bit about reverse mortgage rackets. Now, there is in fact a legitimate financial product called a reverse mortgage. And in a nutshell, a reverse mortgage allows you to tap into the equity of your home without having to make a loan payment while you live in and own the property. The amount is eventually paid off once you either sell the property or you permanently vacate. A legitimate reverse mortgage is insured by FHA, and applicants have to meet certain criteria. The three biggies are that you have to be at least 62 years old, you have to occupy the property as your residence, and you have to own the property. Of course, just because there are qualifications, just because certain things are in place to try to protect you, doesn't mean that scammers are going to let that get in their way. There are unscrupulous real estate and financial professionals who will push reverse mortgages onto retirees and tell them what a great deal it is for them. And you have to be real careful here, because sometimes a reverse mortgage, especially if you completely understand what you're doing, especially if the mortgage is FHA insured, it could be a good idea for you. But many times they're not. Now, the goal of these real estate and financial professionals, the unscrupulous ones, I mean, is essentially to cheat your loved ones and your heirs out of your property, out of their possible inheritance. Or the other thing they like to do is get the retiree to tap into the equity in the home so that they take out money and invest it in some other product or investment that the scammer is pushing. So those are two roads that they can use to try to get you to fall for this. And the interesting thing here, not only interesting, I think it's actually kind of insidious here, is how they find victims. Again, investment financial seminars are another source of victims for these type of scammers. Online ads, you'll see them on the web, you'll see them in newspapers, you might even see them in your inbox at email, saying that you can solve all your financial difficulties, and if you're short on cash, a reverse mortgage is the thing to get. But here's the sneaky thing. A lot of prospects for these prospective victims, are found through religious groups. There's a particular special type of person, or of con person, of scammer, that will actually target religious institutions. They'll become a member of the synagogue, of the church. They'll get to know people in the community, and they'll say, oh, by the way, if you ever find yourself ever needing financial help, if you need some extra money, come and talk to me. And you come and talk to them, and your guard is obviously reduced, because most people think, hey, I met this person through my church or my synagogue. That means that they're pretty nice people. And unfortunately, although many are nice people, they are in fact trying to get you in and trying to put you on a lower defense level so that you fall more easily for what they're selling. So be extra careful. And again, as to reverse mortgages, the easiest way to tell whether or not they are legitimate, find out if the mortgage is FHA insured. And if it is not, do not sign anything, do not give any information, and walk away. So, as you can tell, fraudsters have 1,000,001 ways to try to take advantage of their latest marks. And I have, the ongoing in-joke among defense attorneys is that if there exists some kind of federal or government benefit program, there is going to be, somebody has already found a way to defraud it, particularly here in South Florida, which happens to be the capital of fraud in the United States. We are very special. So how can we foil these fraudsters? Let's review some do's and don'ts, starting with the don'ts. And these are pretty common sense, right? You don't answer calls from unknown numbers. You don't reply to unsolicited emails or texts. You don't, if you happen to make the mistake of picking up the phone, you thought it was somebody else calling you, a friend or whatnot, and then you all of a sudden realize that the person on the other end of the line is a stranger trying to sell you something. Please don't do what a victim that I know once did. That person started engaging in communication, thinking that it was a joke, and started giving funny answers to the person on the other end of the line. And long story short, they must have said something that gave the scammer some kind of personal information inadvertently, and they found themselves with a couple of extra credit card accounts that did not belong to him, but were under his name. So don't engage in any kind of communication, even as a joke. Of course, you don't sign anything you don't understand, and never send money or personal information to an unsolicited ad, an unsolicited salesperson. And I think that the easiest way to sum up all of these bullet points is simply do not engage. Don't answer calls that you don't know. Don't reply. Don't do it. That's the easiest way to prevent any kind of foothold from any kind of scammer, from getting your information. They can't get what you can't, what's not there. So some do's that you can, these will enable you to take charge of your accounts and hopefully be proactive in cutting off any scams that may have inadvertently gotten by you. Check your credit reports for unfamiliar accounts. You may be a victim without even realizing it. Make sure that at least once a year, if not more, you pull your credit reports, You check them all, make sure that there's not any unfamiliar account that's open. And if you do find a suspicious account, call the credit bureau immediately and let them know that this does not belong to you. The other thing you must do, check your bank and credit card statements for unknown activity. And I think that somewhere in the webosphere out there, my very beloved aunt is listening. And if she is, I am telling her that she needs to do this more often. She, like many other retirees, has fallen into the habit of not really closely looking at credit card statements. And that is where you can miss potential fraud. So please get into the habit of looking at your bank and credit card statements. It can prevent you many headaches down the road. Also, you want to keep abreast of the news. If you hear stories or read stories in the newspaper about some new scam or somebody who was victimized by some particular fraud, it's good to know that it's out there in case it comes across your way. So it's a good idea to keep abreast of news items, information about fraud trends and scams. Now, lastly, if you do discover that you have been defrauded, you've fallen victim despite all of your best efforts, immediately call the police and the FBI to report the offense. And I particularly urge you to do this because I find that especially among retirees, there's hesitation to report some of these fraud crimes. Some people feel that, it makes them look foolish, or it makes them look as if they are not independent and can't manage themselves. And that is far from the truth, folks. Professionals of all levels of education, you, me, anyone can fall victim to a scam. Some con artists are really smart, and they've become really good despite our best efforts at really hiding their activity. And if we don't report them and we don't tell the police and FBI what's happening, it just enables them to continue with their activities and continue victimizing others. So one place you can go to either report such a crime, or even if you want to just check on what is out there in terms of ongoing schemes and cons, go to the FBI's website. That's fbi.gov. Remember that little suffix, .gov. Or you can call 1-800-225-5324. Easy to remember, 1-800-CALL-FBI. So, folks, this is pretty much everything that I have for you today. And again, I remind you that scammers are really good at what they do, and they rely on the silence of their victims to continue getting away with schemes. So be vigilant, be smart, don't be afraid to speak up. And now I'm going to turn it over to Esther for our Q&A session.
Thank you, Adriana and Mitchell, for a wonderful and informative webinar on tips to protect yourself from financial and medical hoaxes and how to avoid becoming a victim. We will now be taking questions from the viewers. I have been monitoring the questions that have been submitted in the Q&A. This is the first question that our viewer has submitted. If I am a victim and the scammer is arrested, how can I get my money back?
All right, and Esther, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and I'll take that question.
Thank you.
Typically, if you are a victim of fraud and you have a perpetrator that's been arrested, the state attorney, the prosecutor's office, whether it be the state attorney or a United States attorney, is going to make contact with you. They are going to find out the amount of money that you've lost to the scammer, and that is going to be made part of whatever sentence the perpetrator receives. And it will be called restitution. So that person will be liable to you for the amount of the fraud in restitution, and that is typically how you will get paid back.
Great. Now our next question is, what is the biggest fraud case you've worked on?
Okay, this is a fun one to answer. And if you are an avid reader or you like to keep up with, crazy criminal stories here in South Florida, you may have heard of this case. A couple of years ago, there was a man who was arrested for impersonating a Saudi prince. My client was a European investment consultant, and she got roped in to this scheme. This fake Saudi prince hired her to find investments in the United States suitable for his portfolio. And he provided her with all of his credentials, qualifications, his entourage. He lived on Star Island in this really exclusive penthouse. And in other words, he had all of the typical things you would expect Saudi royalty to have. And my client, went along with him, thinking she's got this great, rich new client. And probably about 6 months down the road into their relationship, she finds out that all this time, and for actually quite a few years, this person had been successfully impersonating a Saudi prince. He had fooled heads of states, government agencies, diplomats, charities, celebrities into believing him. So this poor woman gets roped into this. And at first, the government, the United States government, which is investigating this case and actually took him into custody, at first, they thought that my client knew about the scheme and was actually a co-conspirator with this, this impersonator. And after many long hours and debriefings and evidence, we were able to show the government that no, she wasn't a co-conspirator. She was in fact an unwilling accomplice and a victim herself. So that was a crazy story. It was covered by Vanity Fair. And last year, early in the pandemic, I was actually interviewed by an ABC producer about the story. So if you want to learn more about that, I'm sure you can Google fake Sultan Miami, and you'll get a whole bunch of hits on that case. It's really crazy.
Wow, that's amazing story. The next question we have is, what can I do if I suspect that my accountant or bookkeeper is cheating me out of money?
So if you suspect that a financial professional is in fact skimming off the top or not being honest with you, I would recommend hiring a forensic accountant to look at your books, to check what is going on, give them all copies of statements, all your financials. In other words, you kind of have an accountant to check the accountant. That's probably the best way to do that. And of course, if you do find out that you are in fact being cheated by a financial professional, please don't hesitate to report that immediately.
Okay. Another question that we have is, what do I do if I think I may have accidentally opened and answered a scam email?
I'll answer that. If you open a scam email, an email in and of itself, without clicking any active link, is pretty benign and harmless. There was a question here asking, I noticed in the chat, about unsubscribing button. If you hit unsubscribe to an email, you're to an unscrupulous person, all you're doing is letting them know that you're alive. They're not going to unsubscribe you. So the best thing to do is, if you don't want to receive emails from that email address anymore, is to use a spam filter, which comes standard on Outlook and some other email programs, and let it automatically go in to your spam filter, and then you'll never see it again, as long as you don't click on any active links inside. Clicking unsubscribe doesn't do anything. It's like the do not call list. Bad people don't care about government regulations, so they will continue to call you and they will continue to email you.
We'll have to look through those. All right, we have another question. I got an email from my bank, but they are asking a lot of questions. Is it really from my bank? How do I know for sure?
Well, you can call your bank. If you're not sure if something came from, let me preface this by saying that bad people have gotten sophisticated. So if you get an email from Bank of America and it looks all official with Bank of America logos, and they're asking questions that a bank wouldn't normally ask, you should really suspect that. You can call the bank and you could say, listen, I just got an email. Is this legit? And if they tell you, no, we have no record of that, then you know it was a scam. Listen, don't go with your gut. Okay. If you suspect a scam, people have gotten really sophisticated. Okay. Even if you type in, so just for argument's sake, americanexpress.com. Okay. They'll add an extra X or they'll add an extra letter. First glance, it really looks like americanexpress.com. And then when you click on it, it takes you to an emulated website that's not really American Express, okay, but emulates American Express. And then you have this level of comfort. You really need in this day and age to get your guard really, really high up.
Great. Good information. My next question is, my credit card company called me and asked me for my account number. Why would they do that?
Who's answering that?
Either one. I think, Mitch, that might be more up your alley.
Your credit, nobody that has your account information is going to ask you for your account information. It's that simple. Okay, your bank's not going to say, can you please verify? If somebody uses the words, can you please verify? Chances are, okay, that they don't know anything. And it's a way of soliciting or eliciting information out of you. Okay. And again, if you suspect fraud, you're going to say, can I have your number and let me call you back? 99.9% of the time, they're going to hang up on you.
Yep.
Because they need, even with scammers, it's based on volume. Out of the boiler rooms that Adriana talked about, it's one after the other, after the other, after the other. They have no time to chat with you unless they consider you to be a potential victim.
Okay, great. So we have another question. I got an email, phone call from the IRS asking me to confirm my Social Security information. Should I answer it?
Oh, I'll take that one because I love those calls.
Okay.
Folks, let me just tell you this. First of all, no government agency is going to call you directly. Let me start with that. I've had people who claim that the FBI has called them, or the IRS, as in this example. And I'm going to tell you right now, whenever the government wants to communicate with you, it's typically going to be in one of two ways. They're either going to send you actual, official, physical correspondence, or an FBI agent is going to knock on your door in person and in the flesh. So the first warning sign is that they're calling you, period. Remember what I said earlier. Typically, your scammers are going to initiate that contact. They're going to reach out to you. So that's already a red flag. And anybody claiming to be from the IRS who wants you to verify something, anything, you already know that's heading in the wrong direction for the reasons that Mitch already said. So the answer is nope, that's not legit at all.
Okay, thank you.
Just let me add one thing to that. When I was doing investigations, I mean, when you have dozens and dozens of witnesses to interview, there are times when I may have reached out to someone and said, hi, this is Special Agent Mitchell Tapper. But in order to, I preface it by saying, listen, here is the main, you can look up the main number to my office. It's listed. Okay. And you can call the number, speak and ask for me. I'm here. I'm free with that information. So there are times, okay, but if they call you and are trying to elicit information that makes no sense, please just hang up. Don't even engage.
Okay, good advice. So now another viewer asked a question. Should you block suspect phone numbers on your unsolicited calls?
Mitch, if you want to take that one, I think that's also in your purview.
Here's the good and the bad of this. I block numbers all the time. That's the good. Okay. The bad is they're all spoofed. Okay. And just like an email, they're gonna come up with another email. They're gonna come up with another. So it really is an ongoing process. For those of you who have, almost all the carriers have it now. T-Mobile has something called Scam Alert, and it does kind of announce when the call comes in. It's not 100%. It's 20 steps in the right direction. But whenever listen, I'm going to tell you that but I'm different because I like playing with these people sometimes.
That's against my advice, Mitch, but go ahead.
but I don't answer the phone in my voice. I'll answer it with a foreign accent. I'll answer it with, I'll answer it in a strange way. Sometimes I'll answer it and I won't even say anything. And I'll just let, they'll think it's a dead line. Anything that you try is you could block the numbers, but there are lists of spoofed numbers. They can, especially with VoIP, voice over internet protocol. You have a VoIP service. I live here in South Florida. I can get a number in Tennessee, Washington. I could probably get a number in Alaska. And that will show up in the caller ID. And the latest version of scams is that they will emulate your exchange. So if you live in an area where the exchange is 252, okay, you'll see a number from 252. If your cell phone starts with 465, you'll all of a sudden see numbers that start with 465. I even have had instances where your number, your own personal number, shows up as the number calling you, which is absolutely strange. Talk about being strange. So your vigilance is the best fight against this. Okay. There's no one-stop shop to say, okay, I'm eliminating this. Use spam filters, use your vigilance, be vigilant about, with this, and use your spam, use your blocked numbers, and it will minimize. There are times of the year when scams go up. Holiday season, during, when the whole COVID thing came out. Listen, long before the vaccine, okay, they were selling vaccines. Long before, they were selling cures. People have gotten arrested. Numerous people have gotten arrested for selling cocktails that could be anything from just water to actually downright dangerous. Yeah. Also, let me add one thing. I don't know if anyone's asking this question. I meant to say this before. The only people that will ever ask you for a gift card, okay, are your friends and family. Okay. If anyone claims that you have to pay with a gift card, run. Don't look back.
That happened to me, Mitch. So thank you that you brought that up. So that's good advice for everyone to know. And our final question is it safe to make donations online?
Well, I'll take at least that one in part. And the short answer is yes, it can absolutely be safe to make donations online as long as you are, again, let's say that I would say that it should be you to initiate that contact. In other words, if you want to make a donation to a particular charity, go straight to their website, make sure that you are in fact the one who is looking out for that contact. And then check again when you're going to input your information. Remember that suffix that I told you about earlier, the HTTPS : /
Mm-hmm.
That lets you know that this is a secure website and that the information that you are inputting is in fact at least protected to a degree. I'm not going to say everything is perfect because in this world, nothing is, but it's a sign that you are in fact dealing with a legitimate charity. I would also tell you to beware of email solicitations claiming to be charities. If you, again, have a special, something close to your heart that you want to donate to, you can absolutely do it, but I recommend that you actually go to the charity's website on your own. And Mitch, I'm sure you can give some take on that as well.
In addition to what Adriana said, you can check on the IRS website to see if an organization is a 501c3 charity. You can also go to Charity Navigator, and there are other sources on the internet where you can check the legitimacy of a charity.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Adriana Collado-Hudak and Mitchell Tapper, for an informative and an educational webinar. On behalf of the Jewish Federation of Broward County, we want to thank you both for providing insight and an awareness on the fraud schemes and ways to prevent becoming a victim. We would like to acknowledge and thank Greenspoon Marder for being our corporate partner. Now I have a question for you. Can you answer yes to one or more of the following questions? 1, do you live alone or not have family nearby? 2, are you comfortable navigating through the healthcare system? 3, do you understand your options to have quality of life as you age? And my last question, have you ever thought of yourself as an older adult who has lost independence to a medical condition? High care may be the right option for you. Please contact me, Esther Cohen, at ecohen@jewishbroward.org or find out how high care can help you. Now, thank you again for participating in today's webinar. Please save the date for our next educational webinar scheduled on Tuesday, June 22nd at 11 a.m. The title is Financial Planning, How to Protect Yourself and Your Family. Please enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe. Thank you.